I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on the Spotlight Network, we're uncovering the resilience in humanity in Sid Spurgeon's amazing book. It is called Hard Times, Good People. This heartfelt story takes us through the Great Depression, World War II, and the lives of the Dickinson family as they navigate loss, love, and the strength to endure. If you're inspired by tales of perseverance and everyday heroes, you're in for a remarkable journey with this interview and, of course, this wonderful book. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Sid, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Tell me a little bit about the inspiration for this book. Was it inspired perhaps by tales told by your parents or grandparents who might have lived or fought and served during World War II and the Great Depression?
Yeah, I didn't start out with this whole book in mind. I wanted to focus on a guy that was in another book that I wrote. But instead, I got off on the Depression and World War II and the history behind the whole thing, which just has amazed me. I'm a history teacher anyway, where I was. So it gives me a chance to put down what I know about history.
Yep. And it was such an interesting chapter. I mean, the people from this era are called the greatest generation for good reason. They did live through hard times and they were good people.
Yeah, and I've seen the term hard times before, but I didn't want to leave it at hard times. And I thought, well, there's a lot of good people in this book, and they do a lot of good things. And so that I just attached the good people to the title, and it makes me feel better that I did that.
Like it. I like the sound of it, and I like the juxtaposition of it. And I do think adversity builds strength and character, and certainly hard times does make for good people often. Give us an overview of the story, if you would.
Well, the story is about mainly the Dickinson family who moved to Pendleton, Oregon, because the husband, Homer, had to move 6 times to look for work. And he finally found a permanent job for the railroad in Pendleton, Oregon. And so he brought his family. He had 2 sons left. They lost 2 kids early on in the Depression, which really happened, by the way, to my grandparents.
Huh.
But then, so we have them dealing with the Depression, and it's kind of going away and it's kind of getting better. And the next thing you know, the Japanese bomb Pearl Harbor and we're at war, which is even scarier than the Depression. So the next part of this is the oldest son in the Dickinson family graduates from high school, joins an airborne unit, the 82nd Airborne, and parachutes into Nazi-occupied France the night of June 6th. Scary proposition, and that was just horrendous. All the heroes that were in that.
Amazing. It seems like it's made to be a movie. Have you envisioned this as a film, perhaps?
That's a great question. And maybe if you just give me a couple minutes here, I just started writing books a couple of years ago, and I did it just to see if I could write a book. And so I can, and I did, and I've written some more and things like that. As far as the movie goes, I am so clueless with this whole publishing thing that maybe somebody will make a movie.
Yeah,
Fine with
exactly.
me. Yeah.
It's like a message in a bottle. You make the book, you put it out there, you never know whose hands it's going to wind
There you
up in.
go. Thank
And
you.
this would
That's a
be a
good way
terrific
of putting it.
film. Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about Homer and Ella Dickinson. They seem to embody the concept of everyday heroes, right?
They were. And they're based on my grandparents, Homer and Ella Spurgeon. But that whole depression thing and trying to get by and trying to feed your family and trying to keep everybody healthy, and that's very tough. And Homer I know for a fact Homer worked really hard during that period of time, and he would move to another job if he could find. If he lost one, he'd go to another one. His wife Ella, who in the book is kind of my hero in the book. I like her. I like what she does. I like what she says and how she feels. She's a good woman, and her motto, if God loves you, so do I. She lives by it.
Well, that's a great motto. We should all have that motto, which
There
is
you go.
the world would be a more peaceful, better place, and
Yeah,
people would feel a little bit more loved. That's for sure. Talk
I
to us a
agree.
little bit about the significance of George's mixed race marriage in the
That's a
context of the
good
time.
question. I'm from Pendleton, and Pendleton is like a quarter of an inch away from the Umatilla Indian Reservation. So
Mhm.
people in Pendleton, and we're used to seeing Indians and going to schools with them and going to stores with them and things like that. But it was my experience that it was okay to have good friends that were Indians, but you didn't really mix too much. And I can't think of too many mixed marriages and I was raised in that town. It's pretty unusual, but so I knew that when I put these two together, but I thought it would be a nice combination and give people a look at the reservation and other ways that people lived during that time.
Absolutely. It's a little dynamic that you add to the story that makes it
Yeah.
very, very intriguing, no doubt. Is there a favorite scene or moment from the story that really resonates with you, or that when you wrote it, you're like, wow, I love that. I love how that came out?
Yes. And it's just a corny thing, and I'm a corny person anyway. But my favorite part is when George proposes to Sulema in front of her parents and asks her parents. I got the biggest kick out of writing that. And Sulema's mother, she's kind of in a panic state. She's going, "What's going on here? And are you two really getting?" Anyway, that's that part I like the best.
Yeah, it's a very, very touching part, very, very sweet, no doubt. The courage of young soldiers during World War
Oh,
II was incredible. And the fact that it was most of us, I mean, either our parents or our grandparents went to World War II.
oh, yeah.
And they were drafted. They didn't want to go necessarily, but they did what they had to do. They took up their arms for their country and they went and fought it. Tell
They're
us a little
brave
bit
men.
about, yeah.
They were really brave men, and that the sacrifice. George, for example, is a tremendous athlete, and he's a great pitcher through high school, and he's got a future as a baseball player, but he gets shot in the arm,
Mm.
and that does it for him. And he's not gonna. That happened. How many times did that happen to people who just got their lives cut short, had to take, plan B, plan C, or anything like that? Things just don't go right when you're at war, and good things, bad things, and it takes heroes to get through that. Those guys that parachuted into France that night, I can't imagine the bravery there, just stepping out the door in the dark, and that's incredible to me. It's almost you go, did that really happen? Well, it did,
Right.
and those guys are something.
Right. And before the era of technology
Oh,
and
sure.
before the era of so many of the advances that we have today, and there were ordinary guys like me and you who were like 18 years old who were just
Yeah.
summoned up to fed for their country. They didn't sign
See,
up for it. They just had to go do it. And they
yeah.
did. And it's
Yep.
amazing. My dad
That
did it.
was an
And
incredible time, I think, in our history. The bravery just stands out.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And self-sacrifice. Do you feel that this generation and future generations can learn from the sacrifices of that greatest generation?
You know, that, I wish I could answer that question. I don't know if anybody learns from anything really throughout. We just
Yeah,
keep repeating the same things over and over. I don't know. I hope so. But
yeah,
wouldn't that be nice? And
it
those
would be nice.
guys, they sacrificed everything to that. But we went to war 5 years after that. and then we went to war again in another 20. I have
Yeah.
no idea
Yeah.
if that's going to make a difference or not.
Yeah. I certainly can't imagine average, ordinary men today being plucked out of their comfortable beds and couches and sent off to war to jump out of planes. I can't
That
imagine it.
that neither can
Yeah.
I. And that's why, honestly, when I started this book, I thought, I want to do something with the airborne unit.
Hmm.
So then I investigated him, and I did a lot of research with these guys are incredible, and
Yeah.
and especially going out jumping at night like they did. That just blows me away. I used to be a smoke jumper. We jumped in the daytime, and nobody would jump a fire at night. These guys went out at night, and I have no idea how they did that. It had to be just terrifying.
I know. I know. Amazing. They just put their self-regard aside and did what
Yep,
they had to do.
they did.
Absolutely amazing. Is there going to be a sequel to this book? Are you anticipating that?
Actually, there is a sequel, I've got the rough draft of the sequel finished. It takes me a long time though to clean all that up, and that's what takes me the time to write books. But yes, there is a sequel. Everybody's 30 years older. A few people are dead now, and uh, it happens in the 1980s, 1990s, sometime in there.
Wonderful. Looking forward to that. Sounds like a terrific sequel. Also, an amazing time in our
Oh yeah.
history. Yeah, without a doubt. The name of this book is Hard Times, Good People. It is a heartfelt story that takes us through the Great Depression, World War II, and the lives of the Dickinson family as they navigate loss, love, and the strength to endure. It's an amazing read. It's an amazing part of our history. You will love reliving it. You will love exploring the feelings, the emotions, and the attitudes of the Dickinson family as they lived
You
in
put
this
that
era.
better than I did in the book. I'm gonna have to borrow some of your words, I think.
There we go. You would think I did it for a living or something, right?
That was
Yeah.
a good summation. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. Sid, thank you so much for joining me here today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Great having you on the show. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.